picked up a box of 12 LED bulbs from Amazon. They're under the Amazon Basics label. I thought I'd do a video that shows how you bypass the ballast. And I'm also going to do another video that's actually a review video for these light bulbs because I think they're really good lights. But I'm actually going to check these bulbs with a light meter against the fluorescent bulbs to see which one is putting out the most light. So if you will, look up here in the right hand corner of this video and you will find an info button, and I will put a link to each video up there. If you're watching the video that's showing how to do the conversion process and bypass your ballast, and you want to know more about these particular bulbs, click this link up here in the top right and you'll be able to go see that video. If you're watching the video that's a review on the bulbs and you'd like to see how you actually bypass the ballast and do the wiring part of it, then you can click on the right hand corner and you will see a link to the video that goes over how to do the wiring part of it. I'm not usually a big fan of unboxing videos, but I thought I would show you just a little bit about how this packaging was done by Amazon. The lights themselves are glass tube lights, and I received my first shipment of these and they were all of them broken except for one bulb. A lot of people would be frustrated by that. I was a little frustrated because I really needed the lights, but I also understand it's hard to ship something that's 8 foot long and there's 12 of them in it, and it's a very heavy box full of glass tubes that are very thin. I understand how things can happen in shipping. I contacted Amazon. They got me another box out. Didn't even make me try to send anything back because it was too dangerous because of all the broken glass. So I was appreciative of their understanding and quick response and their quick turnaround time on getting me another box of lights out. So when you open the box, there's a box on each end that comes with the tombstones that will work with this lighting. I'm not going to be using these tombstones. I'm actually going to use what I've already got in place. And the packaging on the box is pretty durable. They've got a lot of thick foam padding in there, and they've also got these heavy-duty cardboard supports that brace the corners. And the tube lights themselves are housed in these cardboard tubes with the lights inside. So I felt like the packaging was probably substantial enough, but things get dropped, things happen in shipping, I understand that. It's just something you might want to keep in mind. When I first ordered these lights, I assumed that they were like most of the other lights and that they were a plastic tube with an aluminum heat sink on the back. Those aren't as prone to getting damaged in shipping. But I'm actually very happy that these are glass tubes because the plastic tubes with the aluminum heat sinks actually tend to sag, and these glass tube lights, of course, aren't going to sag. So you don't have to use any kind of support towards the middle of the bulbs in order to keep it from sagging. The construction of the bulbs is actually pretty nice. It's got plastic housings on each end, and the bulbs I'm using are actually single pin bulbs. That's what I'm replacing, so that's what's going back in there. If you have double pin bulbs and you want to change out the tombstones, you'll have the tombstones in the package so you can switch over to these singles. To get a box of 12 of these is very, very inexpensive right now for LED tube lighting. Since I had some that were damaged in shipping, I'm going to go ahead and show you what's inside of one too. There's 2 PCBs on each end that have transformers and capacitors on them. And then there's a strip light that runs down the center of the tube. So I'm going to show you how that's constructed and show you the PCBs and the strip lights. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the PCBs. Somebody that knows more about electronics, I would love for you to leave some comments below. If you know anything about what the electronics look like to you. I know a little bit about electronics, and the soldering on them actually doesn't look too bad, in my opinion. And I would say that they look like very good quality bulbs. The strip light itself is on a PCB, and it's not the flexible strip lighting like you normally see. They're a stiff, rigid PCB that runs down the length of it, and the LEDs are surface mounted. And there's a total of 180 LEDs on 2 strips. The 2 strips are joined at the middle with 3 soldered joints. I'm going to try to use a light meter and see if I can determine how similar these are to the fluorescent lighting as far as the light output goes.
As you can see here, the light bulbs that I'm replacing are 75 watt fluorescent tube lights. On the color temperature scale, they're 4100 Kelvin. These are the LED bulbs that I'll be replacing the fluorescents with. They're Amazon Basics bulbs, and you can see the pricing is great on these. If that price changes, I apologize. That's just the pricing at the moment. That's about as cheap as you can find 8-foot long replacement LED tubes for at the moment. Like I said, these tubes are actually glass tubes, so you don't have to worry about putting any kind of support braces in the center of the tube. They're not going to sag. They're made kind of like fluorescent light tubes with the thin glass down the length of the tube. These are 30 watts for each bulb, so you can run one light fixture with 2 bulbs using the LEDs for less money than you can run one of the fluorescent bulbs. And that's not even including the ballast energy use on the fluorescent lights. The color temperature range is real similar. It's 4,000 Kelvin, which would put it in kind of the neutral white range, which I like for my shop personally. The higher the kelvins, the more blue tint you'll see typically. The lower, the more yellowish tint you see. I kind of prefer the neutral white color range for a work environment, and that color range is pretty typical of what you see at most retail stores. Here you can see that there's a difference in the diameter between the fluorescent tube and the LED tube. The fluorescent tubes were 1.5-inch tubes. The Amazon Basics LED tubes are only 1 inch in diameter. I've already installed these in some of my fixtures. So what I'm going to do now is show you some test results I had using a Lux meter to check the actual light output below the lights themselves. And then I'm going to check between the fluorescent and the LED tubes with one light in the center between the two without any bulbs installed whatsoever. Then I'm going to move closer to the LED tube light fixture and closer to the fluorescent light tube fixture to see if there's more light being put out from the LED tubes than the fluorescent tubes, or vice versa. With these LED tubes being only 30 watts a piece as opposed to 75 watts per bulb on the fluorescents, it'll be interesting to see exactly how much light difference there is between the fixtures. One advantage there is to installing LED lighting is that it's directional light, which means most of it's going to go down because the LEDs face downward if you rotate the bulb properly in the fixture. Whereas fluorescent lights actually emit light in all directions. So even though they have a lot of light output, it's non-directional. It goes all over the place. It's harder to control exactly where that light output is going. On the LED bulbs that I'm installing, you can see the light strip that runs down the center, so you know it needs to go to the top towards the fixture. That way the lights are shining down. There's also some stickers on the bulbs themselves. If you'll turn those stickers to the top towards the fixture, then your light bulbs will be aligned properly. Here's a little information about the testing. First of all, the testing was done at nighttime so that the sunlight coming in from outside wouldn't have any effect. Secondly, the meter was put on a work table that was moved from light to light to make sure that the meter was the same height off the floor to each light. And lastly, it's very non-scientific. I don't care which light's better. I know my eyes tell me that the LED light's just as good, if not better, than the fluorescent light. But I wanted to be able to put some kind of numbers with it just to give people some kind of confirmation that my eyes aren't fooling me, that the light is a good quality light. Just one other quick note, all these shop lights were off except for the pair of LEDs and the pair of fluorescent bulbs that were used for testing. Here I'm checking the Lux reading directly below the LED light bulbs, and I'm getting a reading right around 82. And I'm mostly interested in these numbers just as a comparison between the two, not so much the actual numbers themselves. My shop lights are 14 feet off the ground. Your numbers are going to vary depending on how high your lights are, where your meter is held in relation to the light. Your numbers are just going to vary a lot when it comes to your Lux readings. So I'm not so concerned about those exact numbers. I'm more concerned about the reading of the LED bulbs compared to the reading of the fluorescent bulbs and how they relate to each other. And here you see the readings from the fluorescent bulbs, and they're just under 56 on the Lux meter. So I'm getting about 26 more Lux directly below the LED lights than I am directly below the fluorescent lights. So your direct lighting directly below the fixture is important, but also for a shop, your side spread, the beam angle, whatever you want to call it, of the light itself does have some importance also, because you're not always standing directly below a light fixture. I figured a way to do that test would be to make sure there's no light coming from the fixture that's in between the fluorescent lights and the LED lights. Hold the meter directly below that fixture and move it towards the LED light and move it towards the fluorescent light and see how that affects the readings from the meter. As you can see, when I move the meter closer to the side with the LED light bulbs, the meter numbers go up. And now I'm moving it closer to the side with the fluorescent light bulbs, and the numbers are actually going down. So what that tells me is that the LED lights are putting out so much more light that the further you get away from those, the numbers continue to go down, even though at the same time you're actually moving closer to the fluorescent lights. So there you have it. That's my very unscientific testing. The LED bulbs actually do put out very favorably compared to the fluorescent light bulbs, the amount of light they put out. Then when you factor in the savings on electricity used, there's a factor there too. Again, you can run one fixture completely with 2 bulbs for less money than it costs to run a fluorescent light with 1 bulb. Because the fluorescent lights, if you put both bulbs together, you're right at 150 watts, plus the ballast uses electricity on top of that. On the LED side, you've got 30 watts per bulb. There's no ballast, so you've got a total of 60 watts per fixture with 2 bulbs. So you've clearly got a cost savings on your electric bill. Where you might run into a dilemma is, do I replace my fluorescents with LEDs when everything's working the way it should? You might hold off at that point. If you're after more lighting, the LEDs are a good way to go. And these are very low wattage bulbs. They have some higher wattage bulbs out there that might be even better. But if these are the numbers put out from Amazon, I think that they're probably going to be fairly accurate since it's got their name on it. And a lot of the other companies that are putting out things, I realize Amazon doesn't make these bulbs. Someone makes them for Amazon, but I would assume that they've had it independently tested and verified before they would put their name associated with the bulbs. And that might be a poor assumption on my part. I don't know. Assuming that the numbers are correct, you should save money on electricity. There's no warm-up time on the bulbs compared to the fluorescent bulbs. I have noticed when you turn the light switch on, these don't immediately come on. There's about a second delay, and I would assume that's for energizing of the PCBs before it distributes the power. But when the light does kick on, it's at its full brightness already. You don't have to wait several minutes like you do for fluorescents in cold weather to get warmed up to where they've reached their full brightness. Then there's the durability factor. I can't comment on that. I don't know how long these bulbs are going to last. Hopefully they last a long time. If they don't, I will put something in the description updating this, and I will probably leave a comment that I might even pin down at the bottom if I have durability issues with them. But I do know that fluorescent light bulbs do go out, and they're not super cheap, but they are cheaper than LED bulbs. But ballasts go out, and the ballasts for these lights are right around $20 a piece, give or take a few dollars, depending on where you buy them. So I had several ballasts out already, and I had several bulbs out already. So I was going to be spending a lot of money replacing those things. When you start adding up costs plus the savings on electricity, it was kind of a no-brainer really just to go ahead and switch my bulbs over to the LED bulbs. The only unknown was exactly how much light output I would get in comparison to the fluorescent lights. I would have been disappointed if the light output wasn't at least comparable, even if you are saving money. So I was hoping that by doing this video, it might give people an idea of what kind of light output you actually do get from these particular lights that I've ordered. And it might help you in your decision-making process as to whether or not it would be worth it to you. So that's just some things you might want to think about. I thought I'd do the video, and I also have another video, again, like I mentioned earlier, that goes over the process of bypassing the ballast from an electrical standpoint, what you do to get that done. But I would say that for me, it makes sense to go ahead and make this switch. Your circumstances might be different. It might not be as good of a deal for you as it feels like for me, but at least you're armed with some information and you can make your decisions maybe a little better informed than if you hadn't seen this video. So if you did find any of this useful, I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing to my channel. I'll be doing all sorts of things on this channel. I'm getting it up and running again after a long time away from it. I have another channel that is fishing related, mostly DIY stuff, and it's a pretty well established channel. It's not huge. At the moment, I've got a little over 3,000 subscribers. So it's not a huge channel, but it's definitely more established than this channel. So I really need some help getting this one going. Anything you could do to help would be much appreciated. If you could share this on social media, if it helped you out, if you think you know of somebody that could use some of this information, please let them know also. So that's all I got for now. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll talk to y'all later.